Welcome to World Transits Today, practicing in the tradition of Stanislav Grof and Richard Tarnas, blending consciousness research with astrology. I'm Art Granoff. Today, April 6, 2021 on World Transits, Archetypal News Network Edition. We featured two planetary archetypes, Saturn and Uranus, focusing on one current transit, Saturn square Uranus. A couple of quick examples. With Saturn square Uranus, we don't want to wait too long. Fresh milk in the container has a due date. After that, don't drink it. Saturn-Uranus, 1965. Bob Dylan shocks audiences at the Newport Folk Festival by strapping on an electric guitar and debuting a new rock and roll sound. Bob Dylan goes electric, Uranus. Pandemonium, Pete Seeger, Saturn threatens to cut the cable. We have Ronald Reagan, who started his career as a socialist zealot, a union man, then switches over to right-wing reactionary and president. Saturn square Uranus, New York State legalizes pot, squeezes the market, becomes the preferred dealer by law. From we lock you up, Saturn, to buy from us, Uranus. Here's the timeline. Saturn square Uranus got here at the tip of 2020 and leaves just at the beginning of 2023. Saturn's the principle of limit, time, confinement, where we've been and what was. Saturn's concerned with tradition, pressure. Uranus is about freshness and excitement. What's new? Pressure release. Where we're going. What could be. Saturn defines what's contained within a framework, staying safe behind walls, laws, or popular culture, forcing our determination to persist in the same way, and finding ways to block or frustrate what's new. It's unknown and probably dangerous. Saturn's orbit around the Sun is about 29 years. Saturn's about the material world and all that's important. Saturn may be thought of as growing into and assuming responsibility, as in going forward within a set and setting, staying within boundaries, continuing parental and society's values. Saturn's safe, free from peril. Through change, though, we must explore the unknown. Saturn is status, who's on top and who's not. Stanislav Grof describes Saturn as basic perinatal matrix 2. This matrix is related to the first clinical stage of delivery. This episode belongs perhaps to the worst experiences a human being can have. The fetus is both mechanically and chemically alienated from the mother with no possibility of immediate escape, which may be later manifested as feelings of being trapped, being hopelessly caught and overwhelmed. Saturn can bind us to rigid thinking based on what we value or don't, then take it further by institutionalizing and extending a rigid position. To reach the outer planet Uranus, one must travel further than the end as it's known. Uranus, past the edge, past Saturn and personal limits, points to what's new and encouraging. Uranus as sudden arousal, innovation, release from custody. Also the wild card trickster, bringing uncertainty, disrupting plans. It may be difficult to focus on commitments. Also cooperation may be tough, even when we must. Uranus spins around the Sun in 84 years. Let's meet Prometheus, the archetype of a fresh chance and deception. Prometheus, the Greek Titan, defies the gods, stealing fire, knowledge, then giving them to humanity. Prometheus, known for birthing the new and exciting, generally is seen as the bringer of human arts and sciences. Just as various North American tribes and First Nations, fire was stolen and given to humans by coyote, beaver, or dog. As a consequence for liberating fire and knowledge, Zeus sentenced Prometheus, the grand trickster, to eternal torment. Bound to a rock, each evening an eagle, the emblem of Zeus, was sent to eat his liver, which would then grow back overnight, only to be eaten again the next day. Uranus, Prometheus, bringing the dawn, the freedom, Uranus, then punished, being chained, Saturn, to a rock. In his book, The Way of the Psychonaut, Stanislav Grof talks about Uranus as basic perinatal matrix 4. This matrix is related to the third clinical stage of delivery, to the final expulsion from the birth canal and the severing of the umbilical cord. Experiencing this matrix, we complete the preceding, difficult process of propulsion through the birth canal, achieve explosive liberation, and emerge into light. There's Stan's chart right there. Stan with a Sun, Jupiter, Venus conjunction, brilliant, outstanding, shining a light on love, and the Saturn square Uranus right there with the moon midpoint, softening, bringing tenderness. Also Uranus T-square with Saturn Pluto, opening or liberating Saturn Pluto's tight grip. Stan, moon opposite Neptune, also tenderness and giving, showing the way through kindness. Stan Grof, born 1931 in Prague, educated in a communist country, graduates as medical doctor in 1957, then earns his PhD in philosophy of medicine in 1965. Stan's a new psychiatrist on his way, but he's losing interest in psychiatry. He says it sounds great in theory, but in practice, not so much. Stan takes LSD in 1956, has the big opening, and dedicates himself to this new approach. Stan was the principal investigator in a psychedelic research program at the Psychiatric Research Institute in Prague, Czechoslovakia. He conducted over 4,000 LSD therapy sessions. As Prometheus, his extended map of the psyche brings in the perinatal and transpersonal domains. Stan bringing fire from the gods, bringing it here. When LSD became illegal, Stan and his wife Christina create holotropic breathwork through accelerated breathing, a non-drug method for directly accessing the unconscious, similar to psychedelics, exploring the psyche, gaining insights and healing. Stan starts out as a materially trained doctor, Saturn. He takes LSD, then his Promethean Uranus side opens. He's about to celebrate his 90th birthday. But wait, here's more. Today, April 6th, Ram Dass. Happy birthday, Ram Dass. Right there, Ram Dass chart. Sun conjunct Uranus, square Saturn. Brilliance and freedom shining on all that's fixed and static. Ram Dass with Venus opposite Neptune, tenderness, giving from deep opening, mystical union. Also Mercury trine Neptune, writing, speaking, singing, expressing the divine. Today, Ram Dass's birthday. He set a high standard, living a life of generosity, beauty, and love. Born Richard Alpert, he was an associate professor of clinical psychology at Harvard in the late 50s and early 60s. In 1967 in India, he met his guru, Neem Karoli Baba, who gave him the name Ram Dass, which means servant of God. Among other things, Ram Dass co-founded the Seva Foundation, serving as board chair for many years. With his vision, support, and spiritual guidance, Seva Foundation has provided critical eye care services to over 44 million people in over 20 countries. Ram Dass passed in 2019. Parallel to Stan's path, he's a scholar, a PhD, Harvard professor, Saturn, who claims he didn't get anything spiritual out of his bar mitzvah, has an opening through psychedelics, Uranus, leading towards the new and exciting, release from custody. All the archetypes want is recognition, and there it is. When we pay our attention to the cosmic symbols, they want to bond with us, revealing their essence. Squares embody tension, a couple of energies competing for dominance, like two people talking at the same time, like a holiday family meal, everybody speaking at the same time. Saturn square Uranus, broiling the next couple of years, full of tension, the past, the familiar, what's stood the test of time, versus the future, what may be. Saturn square Uranus in the news. The former president, Saturn, resumed barking again as he's raging inside, revving up the fans, plus the elected officials who owe him, telling them to boycott large U.S. corporations because the giant firms declared that all U.S. citizens have the right to vote and shouldn't be institutionally repressed. As true Republicans, we must stop Major League Baseball and Coca-Cola from expressing their personage rights, Uranus, ruining America. Huh? Saturn-Uranus, the crisis of opposing forces, a kink in the matrix, cause instant crazy reactions. Also, whopper-sized Delta Airlines, JP Morgan Chase, Citigroup, UPS, all companies on record against the new voter suppression bills. Saturn-Uranus also as corporate America, out with the old and in with the new. Talk about multivalence. Saturn with Uranus finding freedom within a method, emancipation within limits. Our cruiser to the future gliding along on solid air tracks. Saturn leans back, tight, restricted. Uranus leans forward, open, must release. With our lives going along a certain way, we continue until time brings change. Will we meet the challenge of new and unknown, or continue with safety, tradition, and acceptance, even when we can't? All through history, in all human activity, all cultures, all people, Saturn and Uranus, two conflicting forces that can't be denied, old versus new. Saturn Sirius restricts plans, closes doors, tightens consciousness, bringing anxiety, despair. Also, Saturn builds, as in structures to support us and those we value. Uranus sunrise, the new and exciting drink, fresh air, liberation, also blockage, disruptions, and instability. Saturn square Uranus, enchilada grande for 2 more years. And too juicy to pass, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo signs the legislation. Cannabis, also known as pot, is legal in New York State. Taking effect immediately, it is now legal, yes, today, or actually yesterday, for adults 21 and over to possess up to 3 ounces of marijuana. Cuomo signed the bill into law with unusual speed, making it official at 8 a.m. Wednesday morning. He's excited about the upcoming state windfall. Nothing like a few $billion in tax revenue to change the tradition of arrest them, Saturn, for a joint, to offering the freedom, Uranus, to have pot, as long as they're paying the government for the privilege. On the transit timeline, we see right here, Saturn square Uranus, full of tension, the past, the familiar. Everything has a time and place. What's exciting and fresh can wane, decline, then gets routine, ordinary, or sour. Saturn-Uranus in crisis, they're contrasting, as if they're different planets or something. Saturn restriction, structures, anxiety, with Uranus, creative change, sudden break. And to close, let's quote Rick Tarnas from his book Prometheus the Awakener. And he says, Saturn presents a limited universe defined by hard structure, strictness, necessity, gravity, conservatism, control, authority, tradition, and the weight of the past. It's obvious that such an archetype would create considerable tension when confronted with Prometheus. In a sense, the interplay between these two archetypes represents a fundamental source for all dialectical tension and conflict in the universe. Between Prometheus as the principle of change and Saturn as the principle of resistance to change, between rebellion and authority, freedom and control, innovation and tradition, revolution and structure. So thanks for tuning to World Transits Today, everybody. Archetypal News Network edition. And see you tomorrow.